This is how you win in chess using the pawn strategy. You're going to have so many pawns in front of your opponent's king that they're going to have to cry for help. And as Aaron Ninzovich says, pawns are the souls of chess. So if you know how to play with pawns, you know how to play chess. Now let's get into it. Let's say you have a pawn on a2 here, and this pawn has infinite potential, but it's just on the second rank, and it's hard to say whether it's going to even promote or not. But once you can get into the a7, just the second rank before, the back rank of your opponent, then you can queen. And if you do queen, that's going to be plus 9 points to you. And at that point, it should be an easy win. So what we're going to be covering today is going to be a very, very simple pawn strategy here. And then here, we're going to be mostly talking about positional play. And we're going to learn how to push and baby. And now, here's really the no-brainer pawn strategy. Let's say you have this position, very complex, lots of pieces on the board. You can trade your bishops. And notice if you capture this dark square bishop, this pawn's going to be hanging, so you can try to even win a pawn. But the important thing is you just want to trade. And after you trade, hopefully you'll get one pawn here. And you'll have something called the pawn majority. And once you have a pawn majority, you want to push them. And once you push, you're going to win the pawns, and you're going to make a queen. And like we said, you're going to win the game. So that's the no-brain pawn strategy. No matter what opening you play, you just want to focus on trades and win one pawn and just push your pawns to the back rank. And the same story happens for the queen side. And if you look at here, you have a king side majority in this position with 2 pawns against 1. And so when you have a pawn majority, that's where you want to push. And you can also push these pawns if you like as well, but you should be focusing mostly on your majority because that's where you're going to promote most likely, or distract your opponent's king. So now this is going to be slightly more positional. Here in this position, white is down the exchange. You can see that there's a rook for white, there's a rook for black, and a bishop for white, and a rook for black. But we have 2 pawns, basically, for the rook, and 2 pawns and a bishop for the rook. So, how do you want to play this position? Well, you want to first play around these passed pawns. And this is what it means to be positional. You want to, even though you're down the exchange, you want to play around your position, your pawn position. And we want to figure out the ideal position for the pieces. So you want to have rook behind pawns. You want to have bishops supporting the diagonal of your pushes. And right now, the bishop on f3 is not really doing much. So we want to get it to d5. And once it's on d5, it's going to have so much control of this diagonal. And that's where a lot of our pawn pushes can happen. So that's the key ideas here. Rook behind passed pawns and support your pawn pushes with your bishop. So this one's more interesting. So in this game, I decided to play e4. You can play d4. You can play any opening. I don't want to focus too much on the opening in this game. But in this game, I decided to play a bit more of a closed position. I have this great bishop here. And black decides to play the move e5 here, clamping down on this d4 square with both the pawns. And he's going to come in with a knight in the future. I just develop normally. And here, just like with my pawn strategy, I don't mind trades. And also in closed positions, bishops are worse than knights because knights are very tricky and bishops have not a lot of squares to go to. So I play h3 and black decides to trade the bishop with that, which I thought was a great plan. And now queen goes to h5. I thought this was just a waste of time because I could just develop here. The knight goes here, and I know a lot of players are concerned about trading their bishops for the knight. But in closed positions, this is actually better for you. So I defend the castle. They play bishop to e7. I put my knight to c4, attacking the queen. They retreat the queen, and I decided to trade the knight here. You might be wondering, like, I could go on to bishop to c1 and probably play on this diagonal, but I didn't want to let this strong knight go there. So I traded, and then I played the move c3. And the idea of c3 is if you play a really passive move, then I can take, they take, and now they have this double isolated pawns. And this would be, I would say, pretty much winning for white because it's very hard to defend these two pawns. And the rest of my game plan is very easy, just to focus all my pieces on that. But that's not the focus of this video. And after the move c3, black played the move b5, attacking my knight. And here I have this move knight to a3, and if they take the pawn on c3, I can take the pawn on b5, and I have a double attack. They probably play queen to a5. I go here, protect my knight. They attack my knight one more time, and this is just a pretty standard position. I'll probably try to block the pawn and win it, but it's a pretty standard position. So that's the move I had, but I want to showcase the power of positional play. And what that means is pawns are more important than pieces sometimes. And I'm going to show that this game. And so in this game, I decided to just blunder my knight or let my opponent take my knight and take the e-pawn here. And really what I want to showcase here is that sometimes you can give up your piece for two pawns. And the reason why I did that is now I want to play with this. I'm down a piece. I'm up a pawn here, up two pawns here. You can see this is the same. These are all the same here. And I'm just up two pawns for the knight, basically, because I sacrificed the knight. And I want to show how to play this. And the first thing you have to consider is where do you put your pieces? Ideally, you want to put your pieces on open files, rooks on open files. And this bishop, where does it belong? Well, if I go here, then I can take. That's not very good. It's fine. You can definitely trade here if you want. But I think ideally, if I can get my bishop to d5, then if I recapture back with the e-pawn, then I can get this amazing connect 4. And connect 4 is always good. That's my idea there. I want to get my rooks in, probably queen to c2 or queen to e2, and support the pawn pushes here. So that's my game plan. Black castles, and now I play queen to e2. The bishop goes to c5. Now I start pushing the pawns here. And I don't want to play the move a4 here because this I want to build up my pawn chain here. If I play the move a4, black has this move bishop to b4, and it's much harder to push my pawns because these are dark squares and they have dark square bishops. And I don't have anything opposing that. So that's why I decided to play the move a3 there. So then I can slowly push up my pawns. So that's really crucial there. They play bishop to d4. Now I play rook b1. Rook b1, one of the common things you have to do is put rook behind pawns here. And they really help push the pawns. And now knight to d7. Now b4. Now black has a double attack on this c4 pawn. I just simply put my rook on c1, and it's defended by my rook and my queen. Knight goes to a4, and they probably want to get this move. And I play the move queen to d3. I don't want to allow this knight to jump there. Sorry about that. Now after rook to d8, now I go queen to b3, attacking this knight. They still decide to go to c3 anyways, so they blundered. And now we're in this position where I'm down the exchange, but I have some pawns for it. And I think this is the perfect game to showcase why positional play is sometimes very important. And what are some ideas? So the next part of my game, so I already have this rook behind the pawn. I already have this queen behind the pawn. I think that's good. And just like I kind of mentioned earlier, I want my bishop to eventually go to d5. And if they trade, and I want to get some kind of connect 4. So that's my idea. So I play bishop e2. The black starts bringing the king. And They even attack my bishop and my pawn here. I could have played bishop d5, but I just chose to just make my pawn chain solid here. They double the rook, and then I put my bishop to d5. So I think this is all good. I'm ready to start pushing these pawns. Now we have to move f5. Black wants to attack my pawn chain here. So what can I do about it? Not much. And so I just focus on pushing the queen side here. Now, black decides to even push the move g5. They really want to like attack me. One of the things that I thought was, if they want to close the king side here, like put all the pawns like this, then the position would be locked and my king would be somewhat safe. And I just have to focus on the queen side. You can see, how does white win this game? White's advantage lies on the king side, queen side, while black's advantage lies with the rooks and with the king side. So I'm going to focus on my plan first. But of course, the move, I could have, let's say, pushed this pawn, but this pawn would be hanging. I didn't like that. So in this game, I decided to just capitalize on this move. I played queen to e3. One of the advantages of having this pawn structure is that they always have to be wary of it. And when you have positional play, you basically ask your opponent, what are you going to do? Are you going to try to defend your queen side, or are you going to attack with the king side? And in this game, they decide to attack the king side. And let's see how you can leverage that against them. So I attacked this pawn. They protected it, and I played the move h4. The idea of h4 is that, let's say you play some random move, I get to infiltrate with my king here. After I infiltrate, I could probably just win more pawns and trade the queens and try to push my pawns. So that's the idea behind that. I think. So in the game, what happened is after the move h4, black decided to play the move king to f6. So it looks like I took the pawn, and in this position, it looks like they're doing very solid here. And how do I continue this attack? Well, I could start continuing on with my queen side plans, but you can also use your queen side as a distraction here. And so I decided to play the move king to f2. The idea of king to f2 is that I want to bring my rook into the attack here. We have rook to b8, and now I play rook to h1 here. I really want to get this move in. If I can get this move in, for example, this, you can't. So these squares are covered by the bishop. These squares are covered by the rook, and if you go here, I'm just going to completely win. This game, they decide to go to play king to g6, and this is a blunder, and I capitalize on this blunder. While they're focused on the queen side with the rook here and the queen, you can leverage that, distract them, and then do a little swap of focus and attack the opposite side. And they blundered in this position. And the tactic that they missed was check. And after taking, now I have this move bishop to e4, and they resigned. And the reason why they resigned is because, let's say they go here. Then I have to move rook to h6. And after, let's say they can only go up. And after they go up, I just win the queen. So that's why they resigned. So I hope you enjoyed this positional game. And if you like content like this, please like and subscribe.